It exists in the middle of nowhere. Colorado. 5,600 miles of fencing. 28 stories underground. ADX Florence isn't a prison. It's a tomb. And inside, every door is locked. Every window is covered. Every movement is watched. The men here are considered so dangerous, so volatile, so impossible to contain, that they've been buried alive in a Supermax facility that makes regular death row look like a vacation. This isn't a prison visit. This is a 24-hour immersion into the most isolated, most secure, most brutal prison system in America. What you're about to see reveals the cost of creating a place where human beings are treated as less than human. Welcome to Crimson Files. Today we step inside for 24 hours to see what life really looks like inside America's most isolated prison, ADX Florence. If you haven't subscribed to Crimson Files yet, now is the moment. We go inside places and tell stories that most people will never know exist. We're not afraid to show the darkest corners of America's prison system. Click that subscribe button right now. Turn on notifications so you never miss a Crimson Files investigation. We upload new documentaries every week. Okay, let's go inside ADX Florence. ADX Florence sits 7,500 feet above sea level in the San Isabel National Forest. You can't see it from the highway. It doesn't advertise. No signs. No indication of what's inside. Just razor wire. Just concrete. Just silence. The facility was built in 1994 for one purpose: to house the worst of the worst. Not the violent offenders. Not the gang members. The worst. The ones that even Alcatraz couldn't hold. The ones whose very existence is considered a threat to national security. The Supermax is divided into 6 cell blocks: A, B, C, D, E, and H. Each block holds 50 to 60 inmates. But this isn't about numbers. It's about design. Every cell is 7 by 12 feet. That's smaller than most closets. The walls are solid concrete. No windows. The only light comes from a 4-inch slit. The doors open and close electronically from a control room miles away. If a guard enters a cell, 2 guards stand outside with rifles. Because even when a man is alone, handcuffed, and locked inside a concrete box, they don't trust him. They never trust him. That's what 23 hours a day in isolation does to you. It makes everyone dangerous. 6 a.m. The lights flicker on. All at once. In every cell. There's no gradual sunrise here. No natural light. Just fluorescent. Harsh. Unforgiving. The hum of the electrical system is the first sound every inmate hears. It's constant. It never stops. Some men say after years they can't imagine silence. The alarm system kicks in. Not loud. Efficient. A tone that cuts through the concrete like a knife. The plumbing in the toilet gurgles. Prisoners drink from the same toilet. There's a sink, a metal fixture bolted to the wall. No privacy. No separation. The toilet is visible from the door window. The guards walk the corridors. Their footsteps echo. You hear them before you see them. Boots on concrete. The sound is different than normal prisons. Emptier. Colder. Echoing down a corridor where you know, without question, that nobody's coming to help you. The inmates begin their morning. They have 15 minutes. That's it. Shower, toilet, breakfast. 15 minutes to prepare for 23 more hours in the cell. A man named Robert Hanssen, former FBI agent who sold secrets to Russia, sits in his cell. He's been here since 2002, 20-plus years in a concrete box. His routine hasn't changed. Wake up. Walk to the toilet. Sit. Wait. 6:30 a.m. Breakfast arrives through a slot. The slot is designed so the inmate can never see the guard. The food comes on a metal tray. Same tray every day. Oatmeal, bread, milk, fruit. A spoon, plastic, not metal. No utensil that could be sharpened. No utensil that could be used as a weapon. The slot closes. The door locks. The guard moves to the next cell. They process 200 plus inmates in under an hour using this system. Every movement is controlled. Every decision is made by people the inmate will never see. The cameras, there are over 1,200 of them in ADX Florence. They watch everything. The cells, the corridors, the dining areas, the shower rooms. Every camera feeds back to a control room where guards sit and monitor. They're looking for anything. A suicide attempt, a fight, an escape plan. Nothing goes unseen. The locking mechanism is electronic. If there's a power failure, the doors fail into a locked position. It's fail-safe, not fail-open. The prison is designed so that even if everything stops working, nobody gets out. The windows are covered with security glass. Not glass you can see through. It's treated so the inmate can see out, but nobody can see in. This is by design. Psychological control. You know they're watching. You know you have no privacy, but you can't see the watchers. You're alone with the knowledge that you're being watched every second. That's the design of ADX Florence. Maximum security isn't about walls. It's about breaking the human spirit. The men inside ADX Florence aren't ordinary prisoners. They're the ones you've heard about. They're the ones whose names are synonymous with terrorism and violence. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev arrived in 2013. Boston Marathon bomber. He sits in his cell and stares at the wall. Rudolph. Olympic park bomber. 1996 Atlanta Olympics. He's been in solitary confinement longer than most people have been alive. Ramzi Yousef. The man who coordinated the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. He's been here since 1995. That's nearly 30 years in a concrete box. Robert Hanssen, the FBI spy. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed wouldn't be here if Guantanamo had remained open. But he's likely in a facility like this. The worst of the worst aren't in regular prisons. They're in ADX. ADX has housed over 300 of the most dangerous men in American history. Some are serving multiple life sentences. Some are waiting for execution. Some don't even have a release date because they will never leave. Never. Not for parole. Not for appeal. Not for anything. They came here for a reason. And they will die here. The prison staff doesn't refer to them by name. They use numbers. Prisoner 12,847. Prisoner 8,833. Prisoner 19,201. It's dehumanizing by design. You're not a person anymore. You're a problem that needs to be contained. And ADX Florence was built to contain problems that can't be contained anywhere else. 8 a.m. The morning is over. The 1 hour of activity is finished. The cell door closes. It won't open again until tomorrow. The inmate has 23 hours in a concrete box. 7 feet by 12 feet. The ceiling is 8 feet high. You can walk 3 steps in one direction, 5 in the other. The toilet is 6 feet from the bunk. The sink is next to the toilet. The shower is in the cell once a week. Once a week, they turn on the water. 3 minutes. That's all. Cold water. They don't heat it because the water heats the cell, and heat is used for communication. Hot pipes can tap out messages. So the water is always cold. The wall is painted a light beige color. It doesn't absorb sound. It reflects it. Every noise echoes. A cough in the next cell sounds like it's in your room. A crying man 3 cells down sounds like he's next to you. The sensory experience is designed to maximize psychological impact. There's no weather inside ADX. No seasons. No change. The temperature is controlled at 72 degrees year-round. There's no window to watch the sunset. No indication of time except the lights. This is the moment when the day truly begins for ADX inmates. Not the morning. The isolation. The knowing that 23 hours stand between you and human contact. 23 hours with nothing but your thoughts and the sounds of men breaking slowly in other cells. 10 a.m. The day hasn't changed yet. It will take 13 more hours. An inmate named Luis Garavito, serial killer, murdered over 300 children, sits on his bunk. He reads. That's what they do. They read, or they write, or they stare. There's no TV, no radio, no communication with other inmates. If someone wants to communicate, they use the pipes. They tap out messages. 1 tap for A, 2 taps for B. It's Morse code from the 1800s, except it's played out through prison plumbing. The guards know about this. They accept it because the alternative is complete psychosis. Some inmates exercise. They do push-ups, sit-ups. They pace their cells. 5 steps. Turn around. 5 steps. Again, for 23 hours. Some men have walked so many steps that they've worn paths into the concrete. Literal paths. Their footsteps have etched the floor. That's what isolation does. It creates physical evidence of mental deterioration. The guards bring lunch through the slot. Same process. Chicken, vegetables, bread. A plastic fork this time. It disappears back through the slot with the tray. No time to talk. No time to connect. The isolation is absolute. There's no way to break it. Even if you scream, nobody hears you in a way that matters. The walls absorb it. The cell absorbs it. You're alone with your voice echoing back at yourself. Some men have been in this cell for 20, 25, 30 years. Think about that. 3 decades. In 7 by 12 feet. That's not punishment. That's psychological warfare. 2 p.m. The day drags. The human mind isn't designed for 23 hours of isolation. Neurologically, it breaks down. Studies show that after just 15 days in complete isolation, the brain begins to hallucinate. It creates images that aren't there, sounds that don't exist. After months, the psychological damage is permanent. After years, the person you once were is gone. Ramzi Yousef, the 1993 World Trade Center bomber, has been in ADX for nearly 30 years. When he arrived, he was coherent, strategic, a mastermind. Now he's been reduced. His mind fractured by isolation. He doesn't speak. He barely moves. The system works exactly as intended. It's not designed to rehabilitate. It's designed to destroy. Some inmates have attempted suicide. Some have succeeded. Others have gone completely insane, talking to walls, hallucinating guards that aren't there, losing the ability to speak coherently. The prison staff doesn't ignore this. They move the inmate to the psych ward. And the psych ward is even smaller, even more isolated, even more restrictive. It's called H-Unit. It's where you go when the regular Supermax breaks you so completely that you can't function. It's where the broken go to break further. An inmate named Timothy McVeigh was held at ADX before his execution. He spent years in this isolation. He wrote letters. He read. He prepared for death. And when he died, people said he was at peace. But that peace wasn't acceptance. It was surrender. It was the end of a mind that had already died in a concrete box. If you're still here, if this story is keeping you locked in, you need to subscribe to Crimson Files. Thousands of people are watching this right now. Join the community. Hit that subscribe button. This is where the reality of ADX gets darker. And you need to see it. Let's continue. 3 p.m. The guards rotate. Every shift change is documented. Every movement is recorded. The guards at ADX aren't normal correctional officers. They undergo psychological screening. They're trained to see inmates as threats, not as people. One guard described it like this: you're not talking to them. You're managing them. The job changes you. Guards who work ADX often report nightmares. They go home and they can't unsee what they've seen. They can't unhear what they've heard. The isolation affects the guards too, just differently. Some develop a God complex. They have absolute power over men in concrete boxes. Others develop empathy, and it destroys them. The system is designed so that guards and inmates never interact directly unless absolutely necessary. If a cell needs to be entered, for medical reasons, for a suicide attempt, for any reason, 2 guards in riot gear stand outside with rifles. The inmate is handcuffed behind the back. They're outnumbered. They're controlled. But even then, the guard is afraid. Because inside ADX, everyone understands one thing. If an inmate has nothing to lose, they're unpredictable. And unpredictable is the thing that breaks the system. The guards work 12-hour shifts. The tension is constant. Hypervigilance. Watching for anything unusual. In 23 hours of isolation, an inmate could plan anything. They could hide things. They could coordinate escape attempts through the pipes. The guards can't let their guard down. Ever. It's exhausting. It's traumatic. It's the invisible cost of building a prison like ADX Florence. 4:30 p.m. An alarm goes off. Not the routine alarm. A different tone. It means something is wrong. An inmate in block C is becoming agitated. He's yelling. He's kicking the door. The guards respond. 12 of them. They wear riot gear. They have pepper spray. They have tasers. They're trained to move fast and efficiently. The inmate is on the bunk, naked, covered in his own waste. Self-harm. It happens more often than people know. The guards enter the cell in formation. The inmate is subdued. He's restrained. He's moved to the psych ward. This happens. Not once a month. Multiple times a week. ADX has incidents because ADX is a place where the only escape is through your own mind. And when your mind breaks, the only control you have is your body. Some inmates have thrown feces at guards. Some have mixed cleaning materials into toxic gases. Some have created makeshift weapons from anything. A plastic spoon. A piece of bedding. Anything can be weaponized when you have nothing to lose. The violence isn't always physical. Sometimes it's psychological. An inmate will refuse food. He'll go on hunger strike. In a normal prison, this is managed. At ADX, it's watched closely because a dead inmate is still a liability. The medical wing is equipped to force feed if necessary. It's not humane. It's pragmatic. The violence at ADX isn't like other prisons. It's desperate. It's the violence of a man who knows he's never leaving, who knows he'll never see sunlight again, who knows his entire existence has been reduced to a single question. How do I stop feeling? 5:30 p.m. Dinner arrives. Pasta, sauce, a roll, a drink pouch. They can't have glass or metal. An inmate named Robert Hanssen eats exactly half. He saves the rest for later. That's discipline. That's what 20-plus years teaches you. Portion control. Time management. He knows that later tonight, around 11 p.m., his hunger will spike. He'll eat the rest then. It breaks the monotony. It gives him something to anticipate. That's the level of existence in ADX. Anticipating a meal is something to look forward to. The water from the tap has a metallic taste. Most inmates stop drinking it after a while. They rely on the fluids that come with meals. Some hoard. They save water in containers for later, not knowing why, just knowing that having something is better than having nothing. The nutrition is adequate. The prison isn't trying to starve them. It's not cruel in that way. It's clinical. The meals are designed for survival, not for health, not for pleasure, for survival. Around 6 p.m., the sunlight outside begins to fade. The inmates don't see it, but they feel it. The natural rhythm of the world continues outside. Inside, nothing changes. The fluorescent lights stay the same brightness. The temperature stays 72 degrees. The guards continue their rounds. But outside, the sun is setting. It's a reminder of a world that exists, but will never be accessible again. For most inmates at ADX, the outside world is theoretical. It's a concept they read about in books, a place they see described in old letters from family members who have stopped writing because the grief of having a family member in ADX is too much to sustain. 7 p.m. The prison is quiet. Most inmates have given up on the day. They're reading. They're on their bunks. They're staring at walls. An inmate named Luis Garavito wrote a letter once. He said, "Time moves differently in here. A day feels like a month. A month feels like a year. After enough years, you stop experiencing time at all. You exist in a permanent present." That's what ADX does. It collapses time. It removes the future. There is no parole. There is no release date. There is only now. And now is forever. Some inmates have tried to escape mentally. They've created elaborate fantasy worlds in their minds. They've designed buildings that don't exist. They've created relationships with people who aren't real. It's not insanity. It's survival. It's the mind's way of coping with something human beings were never meant to endure. The silence at ADX is different than normal silence. It's the absence of all hope. Regular prisons have noise, fighting, talking, radios, music. ADX has none of that. The isolation means no community, no gangs, no protection networks. Every man is alone. The silence can drive you mad faster than noise ever could. At 7:30 p.m., an inmate in Block B begins tapping on the pipes. A message. To whom nobody knows. The guards hear it. They log it. They don't stop it because stopping all communication would push the inmates further toward complete breakdown. The system has learned that some small freedoms, communication through pipes, reading materials, writing paper, are necessary to keep men from completely losing their minds. It's not mercy. It's maintenance, keeping the warehouse functioning. 9 p.m. The nights are the hardest. Psychological research shows that isolation is worst at night. When darkness falls outside, even though there's no darkness inside, the mind shifts. Some inmates experience severe anxiety. Some experience suicidal ideation. Some cry. The guards know this. They do higher frequency checks at night, every 15 minutes instead of every 30. Looking for anything that indicates self-harm. Looking for anything that indicates a break. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev has been in ADX since 2013, 10 years. He's 28 years old. He's been inside longer than many people have been alive. He hasn't smiled. According to guards' reports, he hasn't smiled in a decade. Robert Hanssen writes letters at night. He sits and he writes to his family members. Most of the letters never leave the prison because they're screened, and some are considered security risks. He writes them anyway. It's not about communication. It's about maintaining the idea of connection. It's about convincing himself that he's still a person. Some inmates pray. Some meditate. Some do math problems. Anything to pass time. Anything to avoid the reality of where they are. Around 10 p.m., an inmate in Block D has a panic attack. His breathing gets rapid. His heart rate accelerates. He calls for medical. A guard comes. There's nothing medically wrong. It's psychological. But there's no treating it with anything except time. The inmate is given a blanket. He's told to breathe. That's all. There's no pill that fixes what ADX does to the human mind. There's only endurance. 12 a.m. Midnight. The day technically continues. Somewhere outside the prison, it's a new day. Inside ADX, there is no new day. There's only continuation. An inmate named Ramzi Yousef sits in a cell. He's been awake. He's always awake. Sleep becomes impossible after years of isolation. The mind stops shutting down. It stays vigilant, waiting for something that will never come. He's been in ADX for 29 years. He's 56 years old. He'll likely die here. His appeals have been exhausted. His case is closed. He is a permanent fixture of ADX Florence. Some inmates have accepted this. Some have not. Those who have not sometimes make attempts. They tie sheets around their necks. They swallow pills if they can get them. They refuse food for months. The administration doesn't try to stop them. They observe. They document. If death seems imminent, they intervene. But it's not mercy. It's liability. A death in custody requires paperwork. It requires investigation. The system prefers prisoners to remain alive. It prefers the slow death of isolation to the immediate death of suicide. But they're the same end, just stretched out over decades. At midnight, the prison is quietest. The guards have their lowest energy. The inmates have been awake the longest. It's the moment where hope and despair balance on a knife's edge. Some inmates have described midnight as the moment when they consider ending it all. Not in the moment, but as a concept. The idea becomes persistent. The idea that death is better than this. And sometimes the idea wins. 2 a.m. Most of America is asleep. Most people don't know ADX Florence exists. They don't know that inside a mountain in Colorado, 400-plus men are warehoused in concrete boxes, experiencing psychological torture that would violate international law if it was labeled as such. But it's called Supermax containment. It's legal. It's American. The men in ADX are dangerous. That's true. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev killed 3 people and wounded 260 at the Boston Marathon. Ramzi Yousef killed dozens in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. Rudolph killed 3 people at the Olympics. They deserve punishment. Nobody disputes that. But the question becomes, what is the purpose of punishment? Is it to incapacitate? ADX does that. Is it to rehabilitate? ADX refuses to do that. Is it to deter others from committing crimes? Nobody commits a crime thinking they'll end up at ADX. The deterrent effect is 0. So, what is the purpose? Is it revenge? Is it to satisfy a human need to see dangerous people suffer? Studies show that ADX prisoners are not more dangerous upon release, which is essentially 0, because most never release. They're simply broken. They're psychologically destroyed. They're no more able to hurt anyone than a stroke victim is. The cost is astronomical. ADX Florence costs approximately $60,000 per inmate per year. For some inmates serving life sentences, that's millions of tax dollars spent on one person. The return on investment is exactly 0. The man doesn't get better. He doesn't contribute to society. He doesn't learn a trade. He simply exists in a state of psychological deterioration that only stops when he dies. 5 a.m. The lights have been on all night, but somewhere, the sun is rising. Outside ADX, somewhere in Colorado, the sun breaks over the mountains. The sky shifts from black to blue. Birds start singing. The world continues. Inside ADX, the lights stay the same. The temperature stays 72 degrees. Nothing changes. An inmate who was awake at midnight is still awake. An inmate who was asleep is waking up. The cycle begins again. Another 24 hours. Another day of 23 hours in isolation. Another night of psychological deterioration. Another moment where men sit in concrete boxes and wonder if this is hell. Or if hell is just a concept that humans invented because they didn't have words for what ADX Florence actually is. Robert Hanssen wakes. He knows this routine by heart. He's done it approximately 8,000 times. He knows what comes next. Lights at 6 a.m. Breakfast at 6:30 a.m. Locked in by 7 a.m. Then 23 hours with nothing but his thoughts and the knowledge that this will repeat tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow, indefinitely. There's no end date. There's no release. There's only continuation. Some philosophers have asked, is a life Without freedom, a life at all? Or is it a slow death? Is ADX Florence a prison? Or is it a mausoleum for the living? The answers don't matter, because the men inside don't have the luxury of philosophical questions. They have only the next hour, and the hour after that, and the 1,000 hours of isolation stretching out before them until death finally arrives. 24 hours inside ADX Florence. That's what we've shown you. One day in a place where days become meaningless. One rotation of the Earth in a place where the Earth doesn't exist. One cycle of what a man in ADX calls living. But here's the real question. Not about ADX. Not about the prisoners. Not about the guards. But about us. About America. We built this. We designed it. We maintain it. We pay for it. We've created the most advanced prison system in the world. We've perfected the science of isolation. We've turned psychological torture into law. We've convinced ourselves it's necessary. And maybe it is. Maybe some men are so dangerous that they require ADX Florence. Maybe some crimes are so heinous that nothing less than complete isolation is justified. But what does that say about us? What does it say about our society that we have the capacity to create this, the funding to maintain this, and the will to keep doing this year after year after year? Ramzi Yousef is 56 years old. He'll likely be in ADX until he dies. That's 30, 40, 50 more years of solitary confinement. At what point does punishment become cruelty? At what point does the system become more monstrous than the person it's containing? ADX Florence exists. Men live and die there. The system continues. But the real cost isn't measured in years or dollars. It's measured in the death of the human spirit. And we created that. We maintain it. We're responsible for it. That's the 24 hours inside ADX Florence. That's the cost of building a place where human beings are treated as less than human. That's the reality of ADX Florence. That's 24 hours in America's most isolated prison. If this story affected you, if this hit you hard, if you want to understand more about the criminal justice system, about prisons, about what happens to people when they're locked away, you need to subscribe to Crimson Files. We investigate stories like this every single week. Stories that mainstream media won't touch. Stories that need to be told. Hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on notifications. Drop a comment. What shocked you most about ADX? What do you think about the system? Check out our other documentary on solitary confinement. I'll see you in the next Crimson Files investigation. Thanks for watching.